firm's long run factor demands. In the long run, the firm is free to vary all of its inputs. Thus, in the long run, if the wage of labor rises, the firm adjusts both labor and capital. As a result, the short run marginal revenue product of labor curve that holds capital fixed is not the firm's long run labor demand. The long run labor demand curve takes account of changes in the firm's use of capital as the wage rises. Choice of inputs. In the long run, the firm chooses both labor and capital so as to maximize its profit. If the firm is a price taker in these factor markets, then the firm's cost is capital C equals W wage multiplied by capital L labor plus R, presumably the interest rate, multiplied by capital K, capital, where W is the wage and R is the rental cost of capital. Because the firm's production process is Q equals Q of labor and capital, its revenue function is capital R of Q of labor and capital. Reading, revenue is a function of quantity, and quantity is a function of labor and capital. The firm's profit function is its revenue function minus its costs. The firm's objective is to maximize its profit through its choice of inputs. Max profit with respect to labor and capital equals revenue as a function of quantity, which is a function of labor and capital, minus wage times labor minus the rental rate of capital times capital. Equation 15.7. If the firm's first order conditions for a profit maximum are the partial derivative of profit with respect to labor equals the partial derivative of revenue with respect to quantity multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to labor minus W wage equals 0. And the partial derivative of profit with respect to capital equals the partial derivative of revenue with respect to quantity multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to capital minus the rental rate of capital, R, equals 0. These first order conditions are closely analogous to the short run profit maximizing condition. They show that the firm sets its marginal revenue product of labor equal to the wage and its marginal revenue product of capital equal to its rental price of capital. The marginal revenue product of labor, capital M, capital R, capital P, subscript capital L, equals the marginal revenue multiplied by the marginal product of labor, which is the partial derivative of revenue with respect to capital multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to labor equals wage. Equation 15.8. The marginal revenue product of capital equals the marginal revenue multiplied by the marginal product of capital equals the partial derivative of revenue with respect to quantity multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to capital equals the rental rate of capital. Equation 15.9. Again, if the firm is competitive, the marginal rate revenue equals price. These conditions are the marginal revenue product of labor equals price times the marginal product of labor equals price multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to labor equals wage. Equation 15.10. The marginal revenue product of capital equals price times the marginal product of capital equals price multiplied by the partial derivative of quantity with respect to capital equals the rental rate of capital. Equation 15.11. That is, each input factor price equals the value of its marginal product. Equations 15.10 and 15.11 are the competitive firm's long-run factor demand equations.